Hello, everybody. My name is Racer Dude, and I just entered puberty because my voice is all jacked up. And I'm joined by Jeff, Zentor, and maybe Zenon if he gets home to us in time. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Starlight Research Consortium, a group of scientific researchers pushing the boundaries of science in the far-flung towels and edge worlds. Starlight is dedicated to understanding the strange and unexplainable scientific anomalies in serious space. Holy crap, that's a mouthful. And they are always willing to risk it all to discover what makes Sirius tick. Linked in the description below is more information about SLRC, including their Discord. This episode is apparently also sponsored by LPI because they are guarding the building right now. Because usually, if you see an SLRC, you'll also usually see a Kahara and an Oxo chasing them, sometimes both. So, Nix, we know you want to be a guest on this podcast real bad. We get it. Just chill out, wait your turn, and we'll get you in here. Speaking of SLRC, Zentor, who do we got in the booth for us today?
Yes, on our lineup tonight we have the founder and creator of SLRC, Zell, aka Leo. He is a longtime player of Discovery and returned a couple of years ago, so I'm not going to say too much about you, Leo. Go ahead and introduce yourself and give us a little bit of history of your time coming to Discovery and what you've been up to.
Oh man. Hi, I'm Leo, like they introduced. Also known as Zell to some people. I came to Discovery in December of 2007 while I was active duty Air Force for the US Air Force. A lot of my role play was actually done while I was deployed to the desert in the early days. I came here with a group known as the Freedom Fighters. I've kind of gotten hold of a couple of them. And two of them are actually planning on coming back and playing again, just in the past couple days. So
oh wow, cool.
Yeah, so I came here as I was 18 years old. I'm 35 now, and was an edgy 18-year-old kid, really edgy 18-year-old kid.
And now you're an edgy 35-year-old kid.
Well, the edge has been dulled a little bit.
Simmer down.
Still edgy, but not as much. And I did a lot of role play as a pirate in the early days, pirate mercenary. After the Freedom Fighters kind of left Discovery, they kind of fizzled out. They got tired of freelancer. We jumped from mod to mod for years. We did Evolved, we did Asgard, Shattered Worlds, Evolved Ones, and then we came to Discovery.
Gotcha.
Wow. And they left. They kind of were like, I guess, real life. They were a little bit older than I was at the time, so real life kind of sprung up on them faster. So I kind of hung back and I stayed around. I did a lot of role play, and then I wrote a big long story with my Leo character, which is where my Leo name came from. It was like, God, I think it was like 12 chapters.
Wow.
It was like 3 pages each. And I never finished it either, because after a while, 2012 came around. I got a girlfriend, and I stopped playing.
Those girlfriends, gosh.
Yeah, I know. And I was in Guam during that time, so my internet connection was kind of not great. So I wasn't really able to PvP very much and do any of that stuff. So I came back last year, April 2022. DTR sucked me in, as you'll probably hear from a lot of people. Undertone dragged me kicking and screaming back into the game. And I founded a lot of factions. I threw a lot of things at a wall trying to make something stick. I did ZDF, Zone Defense Fleet, which crashed and burned. Was a learning experience. And then I did... God,
that's back during the Zoner militant type days, right? When they were actually a thing?
No, it was shortly after it. I wasn't around for the whole Gran Canaria thing.
Okay.
I left right at the start of when Gallia was first discovered, I think.
Oh, wow.
So 4.85, I think, is when I left. Which a lot of people hail as the golden era of Discovery.
I've heard that a lot of times, actually.
I was about to say, that's funny that you're leaving, and that's when everyone was playing it the most.
Yeah, so I remember the server being full all the time, though. I do remember that. And then I came back a few times after that. I usually just came on. If you go back and you look at the introduce section, you'll see me popping back in and going, "Hey, I'm just showing up to say hi, guys," and then I'd just disappear again. I'd write like three posts of a story and then just vanish again. And then
So why was that?
failed.
Was it just not interesting to you, or were you running into bad people?
I left in 2012 because I got a girlfriend, but also because there was a lot of toxicity even back then. And I just got kind of tired. I was getting to that age, that time of like I was 24, 23, 24 around that time. And that was around the time where I started getting rid of negative stuff in my life because I was getting really depressed and I avoided a lot of negative stuff. And Discovery was one of those things that I just dumped.
Gotcha.
A lot of it too was because I was playing a lot of World of Warcraft and I was raiding all the time. And if you know World of Warcraft and raiding, especially if you're a hardcore raider, it takes up a lot of your time. So I was like, I don't really have time to write stories and do this and that. So I was like, and it's negative. There's a bunch of negative people here. Why am I subjecting myself to this? So I just left. I didn't even say goodbye. I think I just left. And I had a lot of friends in the community. I had Boss. If anybody's around that knows Boss, Kaz and Zell. Sarensen was still around even back then. I'm trying to remember who else was around. Sarah Rar was around. I don't know if anybody remembers Sarah Rar. Mm-hmm. The Slave Queen, I think is what her name was. There was Monstar, who was an SRP.
Sarah
and then
Rar has popped in a few times. In the time that I've been here.
Yeah, she pops in. Spazzy Dragon, Syndromes. Mm-hmm. That was my era. That was when a lot of those people were around. And when I came back, all those people besides Sarensen were gone.
Mm-hmm. Syndromes comes back every once in a while.
Yeah, I did. I have seen Syndromes come back every now and then. So but anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. ADHD is really the problem. So ZDF didn't work, and I was told ZDF wouldn't work by Doc Holliday, who he was also around back when I played. He said it wouldn't work. I ignored him. Everybody else said this is a failing enterprise. I ignored him, and it failed for reasons I won't get into here. And I was like, I almost quit, and then I was like, no, I'm going to come back. I'm going to keep trying. And then I did. I kind of just flew around on my own for a while. I did some roleplay as Xylar, who is the founder of ZDF, and then I kind of got rid of him. And then I don't really remember what I did during those times. I kind of think I just flew around and traded and did all kinds of stuff. And then I was like, I'm going to go do Psydata. I want to get Psydata because it sells for a lot. And I was like, I don't want to do it, though. I want to do it as a zoner. So, and I love zoners. Anybody who knows me knows I like playing a zoner. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, I'm going to make a zoner science faction.
So why is that? Why do you like playing zoners?
Freedom.
Good question. Freedom, definitely. They're the underdogs. Everybody kind of treats them like shit. Like all the houses hate them, so it's always you always kind of feel like an underdog, and everybody always wants to root for the underdog. And even like Darius, who in roleplay like hates zoners. Mm-hmm. You know, he like during the event that was recent, he actually was the central figure that kind of rallied all the zoners together to kind of do the event. So it's
ironic.
You know, but everybody kind of wants to root for an underdog. You know, everybody kind of wants to root for him. And I think that's why I like playing him. And I kind of do like the freedom. I don't like having a target painted on my back, which ironically being a zoner kind of does putting a target on your back, especially if you're in a house system. But but I mean, if you're order, you kind of got a target painted on your back by Kahara and every lawful faction. And this, if you're this, you got a target painted on your back for that. With zoner, you're kind of like not really liked by houses, but you're not necessarily hostile.
Right.
And that kind of gives you the opportunity to really explore the role play a little more. Same as freelancer, right? You can kind of just observe stuff.
I feel like the zoners are kind of like they're not appreciated by house governments, like their existence being there, but they're just tolerated.
Yeah, kind of. They're kind of looked at as a, you know, in like the old times when you would have like armies marching, and you'd have those hanger-ons, those people that contributed nothing to the army, but they were like, Yeah, that's kind of how I view zoners. They're kind of like
Ah.
this group of people that is like houses look at as a leech on their
Oh, so like
whatever.
prostitutes and carpetbaggers then.
It's just hold on, Leo. We have some more questions for you.
No comment.
Uh,
But I that's kind of how I look at them. They're the underdogs. It's kind of why I like them. And then apparently IRG, Ingenious Research Group, had a big influence on the server, more than I thought they did. And when I did SLRC, it was originally just for me. And then I had people PMing me, asking me, is there a recruitment thing that I can post in? And I'm like, no. And
Go away.
so I went ahead and did it because I was like, whatever, I'll see. And ironically, all of the people who messaged me asking if there was a recruitment, none of them posted, but other people did. So, and then I had Stoner Steve, who's my 2IC, awesome guy. His name is some people call him Nemo as well. Great guy, awesome. He Steve, if you're listening, you're like my backbone, brother. Like he helps me run stuff. He calms me down when I get riled up and pissed about something because I'm a hothead.
So
And I'll come in there and I'll come in and go, and he goes, well, yeah, you're right, but like, why don't we look at this from a different perspective? And he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, but let's not do that. Let's not do that because it's going to make everybody mad at us, So he's kind of, and he's a great guy. And then I've got Proceline or Proselyte. Sorry, Proceline. Proselyte, awesome. He's kind of our like we make fun of him sort of as being our he's kind of our diplomat for Oxo. He's like the guy who we talk to when we want something. We're like, well, we need Nix to do something. Hey,
the Nix
Pro,
manipulator.
Go talk to Oxo for us, And he's like, okay.
Nix to join the podcast.
So he's the guy. He's our hookup. All right.
He's our guy.
Yeah. So Pro's awesome. Really good role player too. Awesome. Great role player. We've got Wolverine, who's the SLRC punching bag. Jokes aside though, awesome guy. He's always down to do some role play. I'm always giving him pay cuts in role play though. Pretty sure one of these days he's gonna go postal. There's gonna be a article in the Gazette that says, SLRC savagery.
It's gonna be that guy from Office Space that burns down the office.
Yeah, he's burned down Icarus. And we got Banna. She's been busy with real life stuff, so she hasn't been able to been playing, but she's awesome too. And we've got Kusari, who I dragged in there kicking and screaming, as well as Multan, who I also was like, "You're a part of SLRC now. You don't get her choice."
Both
so
those
I
are big
just,
RPers too.
Yeah, so I've got them in there. I'm also 2IC of Starflyers. If anybody didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I need to commit more time to that. I've been so busy. I haven't had the ability to do that with Kusari. And Icarus, I'm all over the place, but I'm remembering things as I go. So Icarus was actually originally Kusari's base. His first POB actually, that happened to be inside the anomaly field, and he remembered who he sold it to, got the password, and gave it to me. So Icarus was originally Kusari's base from the start.
I didn't know that.
So
I was going to buy it for him when he had it the second time, but I ended up just keeping Makazar instead at that time.
So we paid 1 billion credits to have the name changed and the IFF changed to donor, and we're still trying to get Core 4. We're working on the roleplay to get Core 4. We're also working on the roleplay to get a custom model. We've got a lot of irons in the fire for sure, but but that's pretty much me. I did SSE too, which was a junker faction. Didn't really take off. I had some interesting roleplay for restoring ships. Jeff actually took advantage of that.
Yeah, that was kind of fun doing that. I still got the ship.
Yeah, it didn't really. It was an interesting idea, but again, see, this is me. I will take an idea, throw it at a wall, see what happens. If no responses are done by it, I tear it down and I start over. The Directive was another one that I did, where I kind of was like, I want a spy faction, and then I did some. I created an idea and was like, this doesn't really work either. So I tore it down. And like I'll continuously come up with ideas, and when I come up with an idea, I bug Zentor like, hey, what
yeah,
if
that's
we
kind
did
of how I got
this?
to know you, actually.
Yeah, like what if we did this? What if we did that? You know, because I'll fly around and I'll be like, there's an idea. Because I was like flying around in the Zoner Whale and I saw the big radar dish in the back, and I'm like, this would be, I could do long distance communication with this ship. What if I put a cloak on it? How long does this transport cloak last? 18 minutes? Ship. And then that's how the directive was formed, you know? And so, and I've got ideas for a smuggler faction that's kind of brewing. It's in the oven kind of right now. Due to one of the bases I obtained from Jeff. So there's some stuff in the fire.
We just passed it around.
Yeah, there's some stuff in the fire for sure, but that's pretty much me. I don't want to talk too much more about myself, but
Very cool.
Yeah.
So that's where I found Leo was when he came back and he started pulling on my shoulder, on my sleeve a little bit about some of his ideas with zoner smuggling, economy related stuff, some coding updates, some really interesting and sometimes like what's the word? I don't know, janky mechanics, you know, they're kind of really in theme to the Junkers faction, which I really liked. So I love whenever people like can give me those kinds of crazy hairball ideas, and I go, I wonder what we could do with that. Like,
Well,
how much can we run with that?
I remember smuggling, and I was like, I forget what base it was. I think it might have been Chesterfield, or maybe my base Seaward and Bering before I sold it to Buck Owens. And I was sitting there, and I was like, well, SSE was a junker faction that did no smuggling, like none. They were strictly scrap. And I was like, well, what if I wanted a private room? And then I started thinking, and I was like, well, there's a login for the base that when you log into the base,
it shows the market,
cargo.
Right?
And I'm like, but what if there was a login and the commodities were tagged as contraband, and you do a /login whatever, and that's your back room? And I was like, oh my god, I'm not a coder, okay? I work IT. I'm a network engineer by trade. I do not know code at all. So I'm like throwing ideas into her, like, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? I'm pretty sure like the entire time I'm like, this guy is probably like, what is wrong with this dude?
I mean, no, really, me, it's like I can't flesh out these ideas fast enough before he's got a new one, you know. But I love it. I really do. It's great. And the smuggling back room, it's on my to-do list after what I'm finishing right now. So I want to make it work.
And the scrambler. I won't go too much into the scrambler. But,
yep. That's gonna be fun.
That would be hilarious for someone to mount that, activate it, and their ship blows up. They'd be like, what the hell?
Haste really likes it whenever things randomly blow up on them as far as equipment is concerned. Haste, I hope you're listening to this and enjoy this.
But I mean, it'd be really cool. It'd be like, it's a coin toss. Do you want to use this to get around police, or do you want to risk blowing up? Like, do you want to lose your shield because it overloaded your shield?
Yeah, we gotta expand on this one soon.
Yeah,
and as far as the back room, which I also really think is a good idea, but it should be limited as far as cargo space. You know, not like the full complement of the base storage, but definitely like maybe a quarter of it or something like that.
That's a good point. I didn't consider how much you wanted to allot to it. It wouldn't make sense if you were like, all 300,000 cargo units is your.
I mean, you could do. Actually, this is an idea. Instead of a cargo storage module, you could do a hidden compartment module.
That's
where
interesting.
that is the one that you are able to log into, or even just a backroom module. But you would have to strictly say that viewing that in the base information would be construed as metagaming or out of roleplay knowledge gained from that, and that's what you would have to you'd have to put that out specifically, because the point of the backroom is that when a lawful docks at your base, unless he has that password or knows that password on that character, he can't get into that room. It's like going up to a door and the thing slides open and they go password, and you go bubblegum, and the guard goes, get the hell out of here before I shoot you.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's been a topic that's come up a couple times. It's like, how much knowledge do we really have about seeing what's on the base, kind of thing. So that would be a cool mechanism. But I mean, it's themed. It's really cool too.
Yeah. Now if there's a person that goes to the police in role playing goes, hey, how much is this worth to you?
Mhm.
Right? And they go, oh, well, that's really good. And they go to that base, they log in with the password, and they get access to the back room. They see all the stuff. Now they can go to that person on the forums and go, yeah, you're dealing in contraband. Here's a fine.
Yeah,
Right?
agreed.
And then you're like, shit, who gave the password out? Now
Yeah.
you don't know.
Yeah, who are we gonna go pound some kneecaps on? Like, we gotta
Yeah,
find this
like
guy.
now there's a bounty going out on somebody who, gave out the password. Or do you reset the password, issue it to one person at a time, see which person leaks it, and then you go after, it creates
Yeah,
this,
play
this
Tyrion Lannister kind of stuff.
Yeah,
yeah, it gives
definitely
this
some
kind of
good role play.
this like underbelly kind of like Game of Thrones type, like sinister, like, politic, like plain politics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
if that cop is a good cop, or in this case, bad cop, because
Right,
LPI, they would be like, "Oh, okay. Well, how much are you going to give me for me to not report this?"
exactly, right? And that's more role play, right? And then it's something that I just thought about. It's one of those things that I was just like on a whim. I was just like, huh,
Yeah, I
good
think a lot of
idea.
times these little mechanisms that people are like, ah, it's just a POB idea or whatever, like they don't think about. I mean, even this conversation just now has expanded upon my idea of what you could be doing with this. So I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of people really consider those things.
I mean, you and me, we could just get some beers and just sit back. We don't have to be on a podcast, man. We could just crack some beers open and just sit here and talk, dude. We'll make a new game.
I know it's dangerous talk, man. Dangerous. All right, let's go ahead and move on. So our next topic, real quick, is going to be closing up the last official event that happened in the Colorado system. I don't have a lot to say about it. I kind of popped in at the end of it, and I just heard that it was kind of very one-sided, and that a lot of people were dissatisfied with it. Did any of you guys else make it out for the Colorado event?
I did not. I wasn't there for it at all. I did reposition a couple of order ships in the area, one for combat if I could swing by and take part in it. And I do have an officially tagged ship I was going to use for reconnaissance. I got sick and just no motivation to do anything. But I did do some flying around. It would be cool if they hid something, whether it be in the, what was it, the Copperton Fields. If they hid something in there or hid something deep in Kepler for us to find, that would be really cool. Although I don't know how that could get implemented if it requires a patch. I haven't seen a patch, even a little mini patch come out recently. So it would be really cool if, after the event, we do have a nugget that's an actual nugget that we can kind of chase after and try to find. But it's hard
Yeah,
to tell at
so
this point. Go ahead.
real quick, just for the audience out there, a lot of people have a lot of confusion about like what can be done without a patch or not. On the subject of this particular thing, just so that we're all aware, if you anything that a POB can be put into the game without a patch. So any base, any POB model, first of all, can be put in. And then there's a lot of archetypes, like different types of ships, for instance, a Thanatos cruiser or something like that, that have been pre-worked into some of the files and can be reskinned over a POB. So things that can reskin over a POB can be put in without a patch. They're about one of the only like in-game structures that can happen without a patch. But just to throw in that little blurb in there.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good to know. Or even like could they put like a little wormhole in there for some far out system, something crazy like that?
Yeah, actually you can. And the reason why is because they're POBs. Actually, event jump holes that you find are actually POBs that just pop you out somewhere else.
Oh, that's so funny. I never
Yep.
knew that. I don't know
That's
anything about the coding. That's
POBs are the
awesome.
keys to the kingdom.
How have we
Yeah.
not talked about this before?
Yeah, this is come on, Zentor, you've been holding out on us.
This, there are planets in Discovery that are POBs. So
But yeah, there's a segment of the epilogue talking about is about the order breaking formation and intent on finding the launching pad of the Nomad assault. So it's hard to tell if there really is. I don't know if I should invest my time looking through to see if there is or not, but I might do it just for role play.
right. So yeah, there was official event didn't have a huge turnout, but definitely something worth talking about. The meat of our episode today that we really wanted to talk about was a suggestion by Grossier a few weeks, maybe a couple months back now, about lawful rework. This was it was the beginning of this
Start
month.
of the month. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got it open here.
Lawful gameplay changes. And into his main target was changing the roles of the police, navy, and intel factions to change what they can do in the game to try and give more centralized work and gameplay to police themselves. And it kind of slowly picked up steam, and then this past week it really blew up. But from what I remember when I first looked at it, it was going to scale back some of the gameplay of the navies and intels so that they're less police and more focused on warfare. And then also not having them enforce laws. And the police would have less access to ship classes in order to focus more on their role as law enforcers themselves. So when you guys want to take off on that?
Like for me, I don't really have a horse in this race.
Mhm.
Even when I played back in 2007, I never really. Recently, though, I have had an urge to play a corrupt LPI. Like I think that'd be pretty fun, but I haven't. Before that, I've never really had a horse in the race. Like I said, because I'm not really a lawful player. I'm more like neutral with zoners and freelancers to what is it called, quasi lawful with junkers.
Right.
So while I will say from the side of quasi lawful with junker, it doesn't. Grossier's right. It doesn't really make sense because if I go out and I run a red light, am I going to get pulled over by a tank?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Probably not, right? Like, I mean, if I get pulled over by a tank, I'm probably going to be like, what the hell did I do?
And why am I in Ukraine?
Yeah, right? Like, what is going on here? So, yeah, it makes sense, but that's also kind of on because the thing is even if you change the ID, you might still have Navy players, especially indies. I don't think the official factions would. I think they would kind of go around. They would kind of work with that framework. A lot of them probably wouldn't be happy about the change, but
yeah, I agree completely.
you might see more LPI because the only LPI I ever see on are indies. I don't ever see. I see 46th, 1st, and 5th.
Mhm.
I'm talking Liberty.
Right.
I never see LPI. Is there even an LPI faction anymore? I don't think there is there?
I think it's gone unofficial.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it's LPX.
in the entire history of Disco, the only ones that's ever survived in the police section has been Liberty, and in all of my servers, police has definitely been one of the most lacking potential player factions because it's
So-
basically a watered down navy in a lot of
Right.
regards. So I do also agree with Grossier.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. It really doesn't make sense because I mean, I got stopped the other day on my junker character, and I had a 46 character just scream halt as soon as I came out of the gate, or out of the trade lane, and I was just like, hi, like, what's going on? Like, I had to just scan you to make sure you're clear to move on. And it's like if you in everyday life were going down the interstate and there was a Navy or Army military checkpoint where they had to stop you and search your entire car, right? I mean, obviously it's apples to
even
oranges,
more
but
obscene too. If you're like on a bicycle and an attack helicopter lands next to you. I mean, the
It's
discrepancy
like you just
between
got
a
a backpack.
smuggler. Yeah,
It's like just scrap metal from the junkyard, dude. Calm down.
yeah, you're kind of comparing apples to oranges because I mean you can't really compare real life to freelancer, but
yeah.
like I mean I'm not gonna get stopped. I might get stopped by a cop if I'm hotboxing the shit out of my car, right? Like if I'm driving down the road and I can't see my hand in front of my face because I'm smoking so much, and the cop, that's
So you're talking about a Tuesday, okay?
Yeah, like I am a federal employee. I can't do that. I do not do that. But I wish I could. No, I'm just kidding.
Let the record say.
Yeah, I enjoy my alcohol. That's it. But I mean, yeah, I mean, a cop is going to pull you over if you're being suspicious, right? In real life,
He's
you're
just
not going to get pulled
do it
over
in a Harrier jet.
Right, exactly. So it's like Grossier makes a lot of sense with that. Intel IDs, Yeah, Intel ID is like this. I don't even know. Like Intel is this weird.
They're
Because
super
I looked
big.
into. Yeah, I looked into them when I was doing the directive, and I was like, man, that's quite a lot of like they have quite a lot of they can go anywhere. Like LSF was out in Delta, and I'm like, huh? Like
Intel IDs was literally introduced to me as, yeah, we can use our Intel IDs and then take battleships from Gallia to New York, and it's like, crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
Like this is how we just break all the rules. And law enforcement in general in Freelancer have been super light on your gameplay potential, unfortunately, and they're often just clones of the Navy function. So I think that he's got good points, but it needs a lot more than just the slight changes that he's talking about in order to really make them playable.
There needs to be a nugget in the game to make them playable, because otherwise, unless you're a creature of habit and you love doing the same thing over and over and over, it's just no fun.
Like power
Um,
trading.
uh,
we'll
but
get.
anyway,
I got some ideas for you about that one, Centaur. We'll get into that later.
Okay.
but to Zell's point, I was in the 46 for a while, and we did have some people that got pretty upset because same thing every day, like you pop in through a trade lane and hold, stop right there, criminal scum, and it's like just a universal transport, calm down kind of deal. And I told him, I was like, guys, you can do soft checks. So I don't know how much you did in the Air Force, Leo, but I did some security forces, augmentee, and that kind of stuff. So, like, I can look at somebody and just do a soft check, without having to actually stop them and
Yeah,
pat them down, that kind of thing. Like, I could look at somebody, and if they're
you
packing,
can tell.
you
You can
can for
tell.
sure tell, and then if they're not packing, it's harder to tell. But yeah, so you could do soft checks, just scan them as they're driving
I
by
mean,
you. But also to your point, if they're
yeah,
flying erratically and they're shooting wildly in the air, that kind of thing, then yeah, absolutely stop
yeah,
them.
right. And I mean, it's kind of like the thing is like with what I was talking about with my scrambler idea, right? Which is a piece of tech. If
Mhm.
Liberty decides to say, "Hey, this is actively used by smugglers," um, it scrambles TLAG's net so we can't see you.
Mm-hmm.
No, you are not allowed to have this mounted on your ship. If you scan me and you see it on my ship, you can say, you can role play as we're impounding your ship or we're fining you or remove that from your vessel immediately. Whatever. It's the same thing in real life. If I walk into an area with an AR-15 on my back, you're going to have some questions, right? Like you're going to be like, sir, or better yet, even worse, if I have a bazooka strapped to my back, right? You're going to go, why do you have an RPG on your back? Like, stop. What? Right? Like it's the same thing, right? It's like
Unless you're in
the
Texas,
Navy.
but yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, but you're gonna be stopped. You're gonna be stopped, right? And it's like, but you can't always tell if somebody's got. And that's the other kind of point to it that with carrying contraband. Obviously, it's apples to oranges because in Freelancer you can scan somebody and see what they have in their hold. In real life, you can't. Sometimes you can look at somebody and go, "You're a stoner," or "You're high on methamphetamines," or whatever bad drug is out there. Right? You can look at somebody and tell. Sometimes you can't. So you may not know that they're packing drugs, but in Freelancer you can because you can scan. So it's kind of still apples to oranges, but it's like you're not going to be pulled over by a Navy. It's going to be
Right.
police. So
A battleship sitting there at the interstate exit, like, you stop right there and let me check your car, and swap
How did a
those out.
battleship get on the interstate? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Well, it's from that stuff you've been smoking.
Right.
Oh man, yeah. I think honestly, I would love to see more evolving equipment in the game too. This kind of a disappointment that there should be this progression of illicit equipment that should be introduced and phasing in and out of the game. I know it takes work certainly setting it up, but like that's a large area that we could really explore.
Well, I like the idea
Yeah.
that we talked about, commodities changing names. So, if you have a smuggler and say they have human cargo, slaves, for example, And then LPI stops them. It doesn't always have to be like a gunfight.
Well,
Excuse me.
there's
You can do like a role play if they decide to hand over the item. It turns from slaves to freed people or something like that, which
refugees or something.
is
Yeah.
refugees, which is a high sell point somewhere. At like
And
at a
vice
planet or
versa. You stop vacationers on a liner or something like that, and the pirate demands them. As soon as they transfer, they become slaves, and they have their new sell points.
that
exactly.
gave me an idea, man.
Same
Uh,
same
so,
like card of mine. It could be like contraband.
so I've been playing a lot of Underspace, which is I'm in the alpha for Underspace, and it's a game designed by a guy called TrainWiz, and it's really cool. It's a really cool. It's basically a freelancer clone. He's disassembled freelancer and put it into Unity. It's awesome. And there's there's a ship type, an alien ship that I ran into, and have you ever seen like in some games where they have like a bunch of gibberish? It's like the symbols, but the symbols are all shifting constantly, and you don't know
Yeah.
what it is. You could
Yeah.
do that for Contraband. I don't know if you could do it in Freelancer because again, a lot of this stuff you're kind of not a lot, but some of the stuff you're kind of limited by. But you could actually do this when somebody scans your ship. They go, "Oh, I'm going to scan your ship, see what cargo you have here," and it just looks like gibberish. And
Yeah, I
it's
had
like,
an idea similar to that where you have different levels of scanner disruptors that would conceal or partially conceal your goods. So those two ideas could be basically merged to make something like that work.
yeah, and it could be a part of the scrambler too.
Hmm.
Not tooting my own horn here, but
Right,
it,
right.
it could be a part of it.
Trademark scrambler coming soon.
Yeah, we need to scramble. But yeah, it's there's a lot of like smuggling has a lot of great possibilities, and it feels like unfortunately there's a lot. It's smuggling's really not hard to do anymore, but it feels like you get as soon if you log in, it's like you're a smuggler faction. Like I played Asgard, which was a different mod, and there was a smuggler faction, a dedicated smuggler faction, and if people look at the player list and they see your tag, they know you're a smuggler, and they're just gonna log a ship in your path, and that's what happens. And that's what happened when I was flying my junker ship. There was a Navy guy, and he was in California, I think it was, and he logged to another ship in my path and screamed halt at me. And it's like it's kind of difficult to smuggle. But if you are but it's just kind of the same problem if you're a known smuggler, right? If they've caught you before and they see you on the player list, and they're going to go, this guy's coming from I don't know. He's coming from Kenosis, planet Kenosis. He's smuggling. I know what he's bringing, and they're just going to wait for you. They're just going to get in your path, and they're just going to stop you. And I don't really think there's a way to really stop that. Unfortunately, not without getting rid of the player list, which that's a really big nobody likes that. But it's kind of I'm not sitting here. I'm not trying to complain or whine or moan, but it smuggling does seem like a problem. So if you can't get rid of one problem, the problem of them getting in your way, you kind of need to have another one, and that's my idea with the systems in between. The shortcut systems, which have like all kinds of like anomalies and like level 23 NPCs that'll blow you up, and but you can get away from whoever's tracking you. And the scrambler idea that I have and the backrooms idea, they're kind of band-aid fixes for people getting in your way and whatever. But
yeah, I definitely like the scrambler.
I don't know where I was going with this thought, but that's what I'm trying to say. So
yeah, and that's a common problem. I mean, really with anything. Like lately, we've been dealing with somebody that's a shadow logger, just looks at player list, switches characters, and stalks us. That kind of thing. But at the same time, if it's done correctly, it is kind of wanted. As a smuggler, because I do smuggling along with the trading. You do want to be caught sometimes. As a trader, I want a pirate interaction once in a while, but just not every day, every single time. The same people, and you can tell, especially the way that they talk, and they come up with some bullshit role play. Like, come on, You got to do something better
it's
than that.
like being caught as a smuggler and like escaping is like the most satisfying feeling in the world. I ran away from a guy with kidnapped VIPs one time to my POB that I had in Kepler, and he chased me from New York all the way to Kepler, and I got away from him. And I
That's
was
awesome.
like, "See you later, sucker!" And I docked.
Yeah.
I know he was just like, "Ah!" But
I had an RM chase me from New Berlin all the way into Texas, and he just got into Texas, and he started like shooting in cruise disruptor, but I was just out of range. So then he put in local chat to all local law enforcement. There's a known smuggler, yada yada yada. Like he role played it perfectly, but yeah, he didn't catch me. I just barely got away.
Yeah, I
and
think that those interactions definitely have to happen, and I don't think that you
Yeah.
should try to stifle one or the other. But I think that if we can come up with creative ways on both sides to
Well,
make, the gameplay rewarding,
yeah, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
right?
Like you want to try to keep the basic composite of the role play, but you want to try to dissuade people from shadow logging. That's basically what you want to do. The
Mhm.
problem with that is, and honestly, unpopular opinion, but a lot of people are probably going to crucify me for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The API player list on the forums needs to go away.
Yes.
It needs to be removed. It needs to be taken down, and because people use it, I mean, it's fine to use it to see like, hey, is my friend playing? Can I
Mhm.
log in to see if my friend's playing? But people abuse it. And
Well, that's what Discord is for.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, you're right, but I mean, I understand the point of the API existing.
Mm.
I understand why it's there. However, there are people who abuse it. There are people who use that to go, I want to ruin somebody's day.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I
just
want,
pop up in
yeah,
space in front of them.
yeah, and there are people that do it.
Oh yeah,
So
we've been seeing it literally daily for the past 2 weeks from a certain
Yeah,
person.
we've literally been we've been living that. Um the only thing I have to say about that is you take that away, okay, then they'll just log in like a neutral ship and then just to check the player list and then
there's always a way
switch over
around
to-
it.
Yeah, they'll just keep doing that. What it's gonna have to do is unfortunately this community is not strong enough to do it, but it's gonna have to take a community culture to make it understand like that this is not an acceptable behavior. But the problem is enough people view it as an acceptable behavior, um, and it's really skewed the reason why they think it's a good behavior because they think, oh well, because I want to go for RP, I want to go for interaction. Well, it's not good interaction is if you're going to talk to them for only a minute, get your money, fly back to the freelancer base that you just undocked from, and then log out. What
Mhm.
role play is that? That's not role play. If you're gonna sit, you're gonna talk. Um, in a lot of cases, people that use factions, actual factions to pirate, not just a pirate ID. Um, you know, build relationships with the people that you're pirating in the area and make them sympathetic to your cause. That could create some interesting role play. So, yeah, and I'm not just saying pirates are just we're kind of getting into the weeds a little bit here, but it's not just the pirates. I know there's some traders out there too that they see red and they'll instantly dock and
Well,
run away, that kind
yeah,
of deal.
and
But
the thing that I like, there was Mickey. I don't know if you know him, Mickey's Revenge.
Yeah.
He's in the scene. He had this hilarious interaction with this trader, and I was in Discord when he did it, and he pirated the trader, and then he's like, "Hey, I noticed you. I think it was like Rhineland Ale or something on board," and he made up some BS. Was like, "Hey, you know what? How about you give me some money?" And I will escort you through Liberty Space to make sure you don't get stopped by law enforcement.
Yeah.
So he basically pirated him, but it was a funny interaction, and he was laughing the entire time. And that kind of pirating like cracked me. Like if you've ever been pirated by I can't ever say his name.
Eingar?
Yeah, it or him or yeah.
I've been around for a couple of Mickey's.
But
exploits.
I think
it's
Jericho got one today.
but just in general, like the DTR guys, like 80% of the DTR guys, it's always funny. they'll pirate you, and then they'll have a conversation with you. They'll go, "Oh, well, thanks for the money. How are you doing today?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you're
see,
like, what?
that's awesome. And I've gotten into it before with certain players back and forth who are absolutely staunchly opposed to this idea. Like it should just be give me money, die, and I'm out of here.
No, I mean, yeah, I
There's
guess
room for that.
if you're there is, but I mean, I guess if you're, but again, it all comes back to me. It's apples to oranges. You're trying to compare a 20, what is this, the 29th century game, like space simulator, like this is what you're supposed to be in, to 21st century ideals. If you get pirated in real life, they're not going to just take your money, they're going to take your life.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to take your ship, they're going to take your women, they're probably going to kill you, and they're going to sell your women into slavery.
Yeah, and that brings up one thing about pirating that I've kind of hated is the whole give the money thing. Like, do you want that paper trail as a pirate? You're just going to take credits through a banking system?
Yeah, right. Like you can't really compare like 21st century pirating to 29th century pirating. You can't. People are. I think that's a lot of the problem that some people. Not a lot of the problem. It's some of the problems that people have with Discovery and the role play and the systems is they're trying to compare 21st century to 29th or whatever century this is.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily. It's
well,
not
it was
exact
there.
Science.
The people I've argued with before, the perspective is like, as a pirate, I'm thinking about where the law enforcement, when are they going to show up? When are they going to get me? I want to get my money, get in, get out. But I think that just doesn't apply anymore to the current level of player population that we're dealing with. And also, I'm flying through like my favorite vanilla system right now. I love the system.
Burgundy?
Edinburgh. No, the vanilla systems.
Edinburgh. Oh, okay, vanilla.
Yep.
Yeah. But and the thing is, I mean, there is room for that though. If you have somebody that is a known pirate, say he earns himself through reputation, he's the terror of the towels, something like that. If he prowls through the towels for a couple hours a day, and that's just what he does, he's got a little patrol pattern, he flies around, hey, give me your money or your life. There's room for that. That's understandable, that's respectable. But
maybe he even has some forum RP or game RP. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it has a little lot. I'm like, yeah, I got us another one, and finally got my girl that diamond ring she wanted, something like that, So there is room for that role play, but it has to be done right. If you player list watch, log in, get your bounty, and then you land and log back out, that's not respectable. People hate that.
I've seen that happen so much.
Yeah, that is the experience I'm getting anymore. Probably 9 out of the 10 times I'm getting
15 minutes before this podcast started. 15 minutes.
Yeah. So as much as it has to do with the player base population, it's also the standard of role play. Too many people are letting the standard get watered down, and it's becoming an acceptable practice.
And the thing is too is I'm always playing devil's advocate with this kind of discussion. Is a lot of it. Some of the pirates just want roleplay. And so some of the time they will actually use that player list on the forums to see, oh, there's somebody in a system my ship is in. I want to get some quality roleplay done. And they will shadow log. And I hate shadow logging. I hate it with a fiery passion of 1,000 suns. But there is a point to it that I understand. Is that some people are just craving some interaction. And they'll log in your path. And they'll pirate you, but it's just because they just want to role play. They just want to have an interaction with somebody.
Right, and that's why I gotta say something that is so extreme as removing the player list, unfortunately, isn't so easy to make happen.
Right. Yeah, especially with the population the way it is. It's kind of the devil you know.
Right.
If in a manner of speaking, it's like, yeah, this thing sucks and some people abuse it, but it's also necessary for interactions to take place. So,
and that's it right there. It's hard enough to get activity together on the server when you don't coordinate it outside of the game. Exactly. That when you got a player list or the forum list, then at least you can look and then know exactly where you can find activity.
Well, there was one idea that I had. I took it off somebody else. I think it was Fab. His idea was a little drastic, but I kind of took his idea and made it my own. Was that if you're in Pennsylvania or New York, if you're in let's say New York, you're in New York, the player list will say Liberty Space. If you are in Bretonia, it will say Bretonia Space. If you are in Omegas, it'll say Omegas. it doesn't tell you exactly where you're
It
at,
just tells you what sector of space you're
what
in.
sector of space you're in, and it's like
I've heard that one
that
before too.
helps, but I still think that is too extreme because by the time you get from Omega, I don't know, 5 to Omega 41, that person could already be in the Omicrons. Well, you know they're either in Omicron, Gamma, or Theta, but if they're in Theta, they can go to the Sigmas instantly. If they're in Gamma, they might be in the Omegas or Omicrons for a while, but you don't know. So I still think that's too much of a, I don't want to say too much of a nerf, but it's too much of a drawdown, even still.
Wait, what if you had equipment that you could purchase that would scan out in a radius of systems from where you
Like
are,
No
and there
Man's
might be
Sky.
like multiple tiers, and like your basic scanner will tell you like who's in the system adjacent to you. If you buy like the better one, it tells you like who's within 3 systems of you, and then like
Like
bigger
No
and
Man's
bigger
That's an
bubbles.
interesting idea.
Like the conflict scanner from No Man's Sky.
I've never
Or
played
the
it.
economies.
but-
So they have different scanners. So you'll have a conflict scanner, which will kind of tell you like what if there a conflict. Is it a stable system? Is it unstable? Is it neutral? They'll tell you they have economy scanners. Like you'll scan a system and it'll say this is affluent or this system is poor, kind of thing. It's like you can equip that scanner and it'll tell you basically what you want. So it's kind of like that where it'll scan adjacent systems and tell you you'll type slash, I don't know, slash scan, whatever, and it'll scan. There are 0 players in the area. And then you jump to the next system and you type scan. There's one player in, say you jump to Cortez. There's one player in Coronado. You jump to Coronado. There's one player in Tower 31. You're like, shit, they're running. or they're trading and you try to like intercept them. You try to catch up as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And like you use my idea of the overclocking your engines. That's another idea. That's another idea I've had.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a
Shameless
good idea. I
plug.
like that.
Yeah,
Shameless plug.
I think that I mean, even if you had a mechanic where it just like detects what you have mounted, and depending on what scanner you have mounted, whenever you open up your chat, it just shows you appropriately who is. It'll say maybe that there's 30 players in game, but it's only going to show you the systems of the ones that are like within one system of you if you have the lowest tier.
Is that possible to do with the?
Probably. I haven't looked into any of the chat functions, but I mean,
yeah,
probably.
I mean, that would be interesting. I mean, and that would be another money sink.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I think. That's what I immediately thought about. Like,
which I eventually during this podcast before it's over, I want to talk to you about the econ stuff because I have an idea.
Okay, we should probably start moving on then from this smuggling thing then. So the next thing I really want to hit on just quickly is some news from development land, devland. Where did I write down my notes? Here we go. Okay, so last week I introduced trade deals. It's got a lot of debate back and forth. Essentially, it's apparently kind of a slightly different version of the perk system that already exists. I actually didn't even realize, or I had forgotten that official factions could request certain commodities. I mean, I know they could as permanent features, but this one was more cyclical and based on having a temporary buff in place.
Is that the one you posted in that Discord?
No, this is the one I posted. This is the one I posted to the forums.
Can you link me real quick?
Yeah.
I kind of want to check it out.
Yep.
I think I must have missed that one.
Community feedback. No, it's under announcements. That's right.
Okay, let me get in there. I'll find it.
Yeah. So, and that was really, I talked about this with Slappy like years ago, literally, about giving some kind of more agency to house governments. Originally was the idea, so they could like monetize and incentivize trade in their areas to certain groups that they RP with. And then through taking another pass at it, I suggested it in this particular fashion. Basically, you come up with RP. It doesn't have to be that huge, and we can have a temporary event bonus because of the interaction.
I do remember that because you put plutonium, or you put research in quotes.
Oh
for
yeah, I
plutonium.
linked
I
SRC.
was like, what are you implying that we're building nuclear weapons? Because we are. We're not.
Totally
Are
not.
you?
Everything is safe. Don't come to my base.
Sneaky zoners.
Sneaky bastards that they are.
Erie has been
Um,
receiving a lot of weird shipments lately.
the next
Hey,
thing
hey,
was.
no
Just
comment.
go ahead.
I just said no comment.
Oh, okay. I wrote additional code in the events plugin in the last couple of days, which I've been sending through various people's feedback. The main part of it is just adding restrictions, but optional restrictions for ship classes. So we could actually make trade events and potentially the combat events if we want to restricted by ship classes. So we could literally make specific liner trade or specific armored transport trade, or freighter trade, and we can make them thematic, which would be really cool. So if we don't want to see just everybody's 5Kers appear for the weekend event, then we can make things,
I
a
love the
little bit spicier.
I love the fact that you just said it applies to combat too, because then you're not going to just get cruisers spamming all over the place, killing 5Ks and stuff. They'd have to use snubs. They'd have to use freighters.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so that's the trade part is already written. I already put that onto my repository and was getting feedback from the dev team about it, which is mostly positive so far, so that's cool. I was also kicking around the idea of whenever you purchase an event commodity, it pops up a window that explains what's going on. Something I was a little bit dissatisfied with is you could log in as a newer player or just not be aware that this faction currently has a bonus and you purchase something and it says now entering the event, shipping bonus or whatever. Like you have no idea where it's supposed to go to get the bonus or what's going on unless you dig through the forums. So in this little dialog box, which I wrote the code for already, it would pull that information. So if you bought an event commodity, it would check what the details are and then spit it out in a dialog box and lets you know what's going on, what the bonus is, and then give you pertinent information that way. So nice little buff there, I think.
Yeah, I saw that. I do like that. That's what's the character limit on that?
Not really is one because I can do multiple variables essentially that would put in strings. So, I mean, there probably is some, but essentially I was going to do kind of a Mad Lib fill in the blank that tells you the one line, like what this is and where it's got to go to make the bonus. And then you have a separate line of how much it is. And then I was going to add an additional section where we could actually put in a description, which will be a lot easier because I'm currently working on a event editor. So you can put all the stuff in here without writing code. And then that little blurb, which could be the same as just that first paragraph on the forums, would also appear in the dialog box, the RP section.
I'm thinking of when Jeff did his with the
stories. Yeah,
it was kind of the hints.
That was me basically taking that code and abusing the heck out of it to make it do what I wanted.
It was cool. It was really cool. I really liked it. I'm thinking because when you said that, I thought character limit because there was one of those. I can't remember if it was Bretonia or Kusari that I picked it up, and it was like I clicked it and it was like just word vomit. It was just like screen. I'm like, oh my god!
I was only one field I had to work with, no commas. Everything went in there. It just
I know. I'm like thinking, I was like, okay, I gotta and I remember I had been drinking that night, so I'm like, oh no. So I'm like leaning close to. I'm like, okay, I gotta read what this says. So I'm thinking like the reason that's why I asked about the character limit because if say Jeff or you or whoever's doing the event wants to do something because that was really fun because it really made you actually I didn't get past Bretonia because I got totally sidetracked but
okay. I didn't get a lot of feedback on that except for people saying that it was hard to find stuff, so I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it.
One of them was kind of vague. I think it was Bretonia was kind of vague.
Yeah, a lot of them were.
Yeah, so I mean really vague. I think that's why I stopped doing it, but bit of critique for you for the future. But if we want to do something like that again, we would need the character limit, and that's a good thing that there's no that you'd not. Well, I guess that there isn't. Not that there isn't one. You just are unaware of one. But
yeah, I mean it's big for sure. So I don't think there'll be a concern there.
Okay. That'd be cool. That'd be cool to see in the future for sure.
Did you
Yeah.
see the little event GUI editor that I had?
I
I'd
saw
worked
that.
on?
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw that. It looks really cool. I'm not sure what that individual's problem was with that. I'm kind of confused as to what their comment on that was. I don't really. I read it a couple times and I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Having a format like that though, and like just as you mentioned, Leo, about the event that I put on, that would make it so much easier with something nice and neat like that, where
Right.
you could do story events easy, where you're just going
Mhm.
one place to the next to keep people moving. Like it's a whole
Yeah.
new type of event instead of just trading back and forth.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of what I'm always about role play. Like if anybody knows me, I'm down to role play no matter what. But that would really like open up a lot of like doors for a lot of different events. So
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. So, a quick little insertion here. I was hauling that beryllium ore just now, and we got to talking about everything, and I completely lost track of where I was going, and I just realized that I went straight to Makassar without thinking.
Holy
Just went
moly!
right back home.
You just did a big loop, came back around.
I'm going to shadow log you now.
Yeah, you just definitely do. All right, I guess I'm going to go into Tokyo now with this beryllium. Also, just noticed that my ore, so I have beryllium ore on board, and I docked in Makassar, and I went to the commodity trader, and my ore doesn't show up in my hold while I'm on the base. It shows that my hold is full, but in the commodity
Well,
exchange, it
That's a
doesn't show up.
little, yeah, it's a
if you
little.
want aside, if you want an escort, I'll come escort you as long as I don't get tracked down by a Kahara again. This character seems to attract Kahara like
That's a little bug there I've had happen lots, especially when I've been closer to the edge of the map or like the visible map.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's similar. I had it happen on your base once already too. So
Interesting.
that's the only time I've had it happen is when I was doing some secret Sigma 15 bases there back in the early days, and they were a little bit off the map. They're like probably by a half a grid, and that used to happen to me all the time. Or I'd have to
I
go
gotta
and log
look into
off,
that then. That
log
might
on.
be
That might be
a,
a known glitch. Yeah.
a bug in the
As you,
plugin.
yeah, because as soon as you log back in, it shows the cargo there like nothing happened.
So it does look like a certain pirate is a system away, and he's usually in this system, so he's probably going to come over here. We'll see.
Are you talking about Grimwolf?
No, I'm talking about the royalist in Tau 31.
Okay.
All right.
Surveillance. What a name.
So you get some sweet
Oh
screw.
yeah. Oh, he's my buddy. We had a chat today.
Yeah, I had
We
a
had a
chat
little
with him
chat.
too.
I still need to I think I did post the logs, but yeah, we had a little chat today.
Good
Yeah.
pirate then?
No,
Uh,
this might be TMI, but no, I was hanging out right near the Macazar. He pretty much chased me into Tau 37, I think, and I lost him in there. He was chasing after someone else, I think, and I flew back into 2023. Then he chased me through to 23.
no,
Dropped my
he's a
load out.
shadow logger. He's always
Yeah,
he's
he's the one we're
like
talking about.
anybody that comes to Makassar for the past week, he's been shadow logging.
You guys
Yeah,
have been making his week there. It's just
so
really,
I pretty much told him I was like, dude, you might want to chill out.
I mean, he's made a bucket of money off of us.
Yeah, I don't. So what I've started doing is that anytime I think I know whose alternate ships are, which I of course will not say on this platform, but what I started doing is when I see someone log in that I think is him, I immediately start diverting and flying elsewhere, and then more times than not, I'm correct, and then he'll log in, and then I'll just sit and wait, and I mean, I'm just logging faction time and base is already filled up, doesn't really need the supply right now. So I'll just kind of sit and wait, do some forum work or go do something else, get some lunch or something and
Yeah,
wait for him
he's
to leave.
definitely shadow, or he's in 23 now. We might cut this segment.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Nah, keep it. You got to keep it. This is real time. But we should definitely move on to the next topic though.
Yeah, so the last little thing in Devlin that I want to hit real quick is apparently we have a project manager now. As of last week, I think it was another extension that came with Laz. Laz has rejoined the development team, and
Really?
with him came a guy named Phil. who has taken the role of our project manager, and we've had a meeting with him, and I'm really, really excited actually because he's like bringing some organization, and I like it a lot. So
Nice.
I have big hopes for this, and it's something that we've really lacked over the years for sure is coordination and organization.
That's
Cool.
awesome. I did remember, you didn't say a lot about what happened in that meeting, but I do remember that you messaged us and you're like, "Oh my God, things are organized. We're actually talking about launching the patch."
Start eye twitching because spreadsheets are brought up. You know?
Like, oh my God, like there's a slideshow. There's a slideshow, guys.
Oh yeah, so that's fun.
So that's really cool. If they could bring some stability and some cohesion, then that'd be really good, especially to get this patch out because there's a lot of people waiting for this patch for various reasons. A lot of people nervous about this patch, but definitely, and we know who. Tired of hearing him complaining about his SRP, but dang it, he needs his SRP.
Yeah,
He doesn't complain about it. He brings it up every now and then.
I know I give him crap, but no, he has a right. It's been done for a year. He's been waiting for it, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I mean, we've definitely been feeling a lot of patch fatigue across the server.
Definitely, for sure. I mean, it's been over a year now.
Yeah.
Players that aren't even logging in until the patch happens, they're just bored with the way things are and hoping for change. So it'd be nice when they at least get the story pushed out a little more and something new. Heck, with the OF event, like people log back in because it was something new and exciting going on, and they've been role playing it like crazy. So that's good to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. So we're looking at an hour and 6 minutes or so at this point. We'll probably look at some cuts. Probably should start wrapping it up though. What do you guys think?
What about the official requirements?
Oh yes, you want to hit on that, Racer?
Yep. So another topic. So official faction requirements. So this has been a big topic of mine. And talking about official faction requirements. So as of right now, the only real requirement is the 3 players and the 3 days of activity within a quarter, which even the 3 players is a suspect. I think some official factions don't even have that, but they're still kind of flying under the radar. I've proposed to various people this idea, and it seems to have an outstanding response. I bring it up on the forum. People seem to ignore it. I don't really know why. But I think that official factions should also have a requirement for role play. The system, the way that it would work, because we all know those factions that you send them something on the forum, they never reply, or they reply like a month later. There should
Boosting
be
transmission.
Boosting transmission over and over. Won't get too deep into the weeds of certain stories, but yeah, boosting transmission. Unfortunately for you, Leo, he's not. Unfortunately for you, Leo, he's not an official faction. It's just an asset, and good luck getting a response because I think the person doesn't play anymore. But
for eternity, every 2
for
days.
eternity, yes, owners of the missing eternity luxury liner. But
I feel like that's just like a repeating page in a grocery store. Like, would the owner of the blue Kia Sorento please come to the over and over and over.
Well, I made a meme. Did you see the meme that I made?
No.
Oh, look in the Discovery memes. No, I really made it.
Yeah,
It's hilarious. But at least I think it is. So anyway, the way the system would work is if an official faction is sent a communication, there should be a requirement to respond to that. There can't be a boost or a ping consecutive days, so it has to be every other day. If there's a third ping to that communication, that faction fails a check for that quarter. There is, I think, waivers that can be done if something stupid comes across the desk of an official faction, like a year or so ago, somebody tried to lay siege to Albany Police Academy, and he messaged the LPI that he tracked some prison liner docking with the academy, which makes no sense at all. And and they captured some general or something. It was so weird. I think the guy was high. That should be something where you can go through the admins or a moderator, and
Razor's
they
talking
can
about
give you a
himself.
waiver. Yeah, I totally did that. It's, that was back in the days when I did gummies. But yeah, you can get a waiver. Something's really outlandish or stupid.
Or in the case of like real life stuff, obviously that's fine. I think.
Well, even at that case,
Oh,
if you have three active players, two of them should be able
Yeah,
to pick up the slack.
that's
Um,
true. That's true.
I they're again, the watering down of role play that has happened over time, and things that are becoming acceptable. That's
Well,
one thing I don't waver the line on. I think if you
I
have an
mean,
official faction, because other players might want to play as that official faction, you're kind of holding up the process, and people have
and
left for that.
and you're right. I mean, a lot of the role play has been watered down for official factions.
Well, I mean, there's some
And
OFs that literally don't do their own at all. None.
yeah, I know. But I mean, if you want to really like flip to the other side, like again, I'm devil's advocate all the time, right?
Mhm.
If you flip to the other side, there's a lot of role play requirements that are ambiguous
Mhm.
that you don't know how much you need. And a lot of the times the role play that, and I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn or if I'm not getting what you're saying.
Well, I mean, I think your situations though, that would be for particular goals. But if it's just like respond to the people that are trying to interact with your area of space, then that should be pretty
Okay, yeah.
simple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
so this is
absolutely, yeah.
so I know what
Okay, yeah,
you're getting in.
I get what you're putting down now. Yeah.
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 So I mean, obviously, like SRP is a big questionable area. Like how much do I have to put in, or like base upgrades. What do I need to do? Like, or trying to convince story to change a certain solar or something. That's like really ambiguous and vague. But as far as like, hey, you're the Liberty Police faction, for instance, just for a really generic example. That's a bad example, but just for generic example, like this message is to Liberty law enforcement. Somebody on that end needs to pick up the line if there's an official faction in that role. If you're just going to
Mhm.
ignore it month after month, that that you have no right to remain as the official faction pretending to be in that area of space. So long as
Absolutely
it's
not.
not, like BS, and it's not like, hey, I lost my
I
car
mean,
keys, but
I mean, it's like even a reply just as like like after the Erie crisis when the first was asking for researchers. I don't know if you saw the post that I made as SLRC. That was like, sorry, your communication has been blocked as you are in the group of liberty fascists. Like, like I mean, just a reply of something like
terror
that, right?
detected.
Yeah, right. Where it's just something like where you're just like, we got your communication, but go to hell, kind of
Right.
thing. Like
I mean,
just
so long
something.
as it's
but
in RP, sure.
that is a response though. That is
Yeah,
something. So
right.
many times other factions they don't even respond.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that goes down to inactivity, and other players might be actually wanting to lead that faction. So this kind of goes back to people hanging on to their pixel power and
And
not
it's
wanting to let go.
especially true with sovereign official factions that represent in an area of space. Like if we're talking about like traders, okay, sure. Like maybe somebody doesn't really care that one of the zoner factions isn't responding about something going on in Delta. But like if you're the Rhineland military or the people that are representing the coalition or something like that, like you are
Oh, like
specifically representative to this sector of the space
yeah,
of the
like
game.
restricted equipment, for
Hmm.
example. Like, uh, I don't want to name a house faction because I don't want to piss anybody off, but there's been requests in there for restricted like equipment and stuff and restricted cargo. No, sorry, not equipment, restricted cargo that has been in there for like since the start of the year
Hmm.
and nobody's replied. And it's like, well, if I transport stuff into this system and I get stopped, like, what am I supposed to wait for 6 months for you to reply to me to be able to do cargo runs to your sector of space?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I
Like,
Yeah,
actually,
those kind of things. Yeah. Take a hit.
I mean, if you decline me, fine. I mean, whatever. I'm still gonna do it. I'll just smuggle it instead. But
hmm
but I want the role play there so that I can go in there, and if a Rhineland stops me and goes, "Hang on, I need to check the system," and they go to the forums, whatever. Yeah, you're good. You're clear.
hmm
That'd
Right.
be,
Yeah.
you know, whatever, because they're checking the neural nets.
You're talking about like governments rather than official factions, and those are like two different things. Because official, I mean, most of the times official factions are in government, but you don't know.
For the faction I'm talking about, they reply to those.
Right. Okay.
That their military usually is the one that replies to the post. From what I've seen in past posts. But yeah, you're right. Not all house factions operate the same, and that's the same. That's the same to be said about reality too. Not every government functions the same.
So Leo's saying there are some governments that are one faction alone, creator, coalition, etc.
Right.
Yeah. My comment to that was going to be it's like those sort of posts, especially in busy systems. If they get a few of them. I've seen some governments where they just hit them like once a month, just because
and that's fine. I mean, once a month. I mean, it's a video game. At the end of the day, this is a video game,
exactly.
And people have real life stuff. I've had a terrible month. That's why I didn't comment on the Colorado event because I wasn't able to make it. But I mean, real life happens, and a lot of these folks are just like one person answering all the comms, and it's just like, children are born, people get sick. I mean, stuff happens.
Yeah.
So, and I understand a lot of it, but like 6 months, I mean, there's got to be somebody in your faction. Come on, there's somebody in there that can respond.
And that's where it kind of goes into the pixel power thing, is that people can't let go of the reins.
Right.
Yeah, and that's in a lot of cases there are people that are willing to do that, but for whatever reason they're not able to rise to that position of power, to be able to do that. So, people like it.
Delegate.
Delegate. Bring people in too. I made a point last podcast with talking about developer staff, admin staff, and even moderator staff. If bring more people in, recruit. And
I volunteered once.
Yeah, I volunteered as well, and then somebody that was inactive got hired. So I don't get it.
So along those lines, since the last time we brought this up about player factions and forum activity, I actually put in a player request like, I don't know, a week ago or a week and a half ago maybe, specifically asking for a rule change in this regard. So I don't know, maybe if enough people put in this request, then it'll at least get looked at.
So let me ask a question to you, Zentor, and you don't have to answer because we're on a podcast. And this is going to be put out. This is going to be put out to everybody. So I know that I talked with Undertone. He's a marketing guy like I am, because I have a degree in marketing and network engineering. Is there going to be a marketing team at all? Has it been discussed within the dev team or the admin team or anything like that?
So in the circles that I can currently see, I've not seen anything recently discussed about marketing. There was before I left a couple of different times it was brought up as like, hey, we should really do this, but as like everything in Devland, hopefully prior to our project manager, it was just like lost in the scroll of Discord and
because
never became a thing.
The last I heard, and this was probably 6 months ago, maybe a little less than 6 months ago, is the reason why they didn't want to market is because, one, the patch wasn't out or wasn't anywhere near ready at the time, and two, the launcher is a travesty. And they said, who I talked to said, let's wait until we get a new launcher and let's wait until the patch is closer. So I'm asking you, and not necessarily you because you may not know, but I want to get information. Do we know if there's going to be a new launcher? And do we know if there's ever going to be any kind of marketing driven for Discovery? Because I think that would really help the player count.
Well, I know that Treeworm had been working on updating the launcher, but I haven't heard anything since I've been back on if this has actually been worked on further or if he's picked it back up. I know that he's back around, but I really never can put a pin down as to what Treeworm is acting on or doing. Actually, I think a lot of people feel that way. So I know he's got his hands in a lot of pots, so I don't really know about the launcher. And marketing, I think it's a general vibe we want marketing. But I don't know if there's anything solid.
I did that video
at least.
I did that video, and I got Haste liked it. I know Haste liked it.
Mhm.
Um,
That was a
but
beautiful video. I loved it.
I didn't really hear a lot. Yeah, I did it, and then like my hard drive crashed, so that's like the only version of it you're getting because I lost it.
Oh,
I had
no.
I had an old NAS drive that I thought I had on a RAID 1, or
Mhm.
sorry, a RAID 1.0, but I did not have it on a RAID 1.0. I had it on a RAID 0. And and if anybody knows IT terms, that means goodbye, it's gone.
The hamster inside of his
Yeah,
monitor
it's
or his
gone.
tower case died.
Yeah, so it wasn't in my case, it was in a NAS. It was in a NAS server and it blew up. But the video still exists. It's on
YouTube.
on YouTube. And I did that, and Hayes was like, "We really like this. We'd like you to do a video for the mod or for the patch." And I was like, "Great." I was like, "Can you get me access to the dev build, and I'll do some work?" And then it was just silence. So I don't. That's why I'm asking about the marketing side, because I'm like, I didn't hear anything back, and now I'm doing. I'm actually doing for Underspace. I'm actually doing their Steam launch video for when they come to launch. So I'm actually doing that, and I wanted to see like if there was any movement on that on Discovery side. So, and that's kind of for the community too at large. I just wanted to see if there's any plans on marketing or a new launch or anything too.
Yeah, I mean, not that I've seen, unfortunately. I'm sure that once we actually get close to seeing the end of the tunnel for the patch release, that these topics will come back up. At least the marketing stuff. So I don't know.
But I mean, Facebook ads are not that expensive. It's like $200, I think, and I could pay that.
I'm gonna you're gonna have to be my sugar daddy there, Zell.
I don't care. I'll do it. I don't mind forking $200 up.
Well,
Zell's
you know,
gonna fund all my coding enterprises.
well, hold on. He's the zoner, so isn't he the camp follower for the? You know, you got to start making money, man.
Hey, camp
Carpetbaggers and prostitutes, man.
you mentioned, yeah, prostitution, man. You got a lot of money from that.
All right, you sing the cash, I'll write the code. Come on now.
But I one thing is for certain though, when this patch gets near, things are going to get very interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
If the one thing that I will tell you, Zentor, if you want to pass it up, and for any of the devs listening, Haste, Reeves, any of you guys, when the patch gets, I'd say maybe like 2 weeks out, would probably be the best time to do it. Get me some B-roll with a camera ship or a dev ship that's invisible or something. Get me some really cool B-roll, and I can assemble it myself and put music to it, some copyright-free stuff. Slap it in like a minute and a half video, and slap that on YouTube or, I mean, Facebook or anything like that. And we know our age group already. I mean, it's a pretty wide net, so you don't really have to worry about having a narrow market group. I mean, you've got sci-fi is probably 18 to probably even less than that. Probably I'd say 15 to 62 years old, male, female, doesn't matter which. So
don't let St. Dennis hear that. What is he? 67?
I mean, you can go all the way up. You can go all the way up to 80. I mean, sci-fi has always been something that's grabbed people. And if you get the marketing out there with a cool looking video, if I get the B-roll, I can put the video together. You don't even have to give me access. Just give me a ton of B-roll with a lot of cool features, a lot of cool clips, system shots, and all kinds of stuff, and I can throw it together. You don't even
Okay. I mean, I'm definitely gonna lean on this once we see the patch in sight. So
like a month, 2 weeks out, I can throw a video together in no time. Like that video that I did, that video took me like 3 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours. So
and if you need people to, like, as you're recording, to fly a ship or do something, let me know, and I can help out with that.
And we can take some stuff from probably the live version of Discovery too, and anything that wasn't changed, we can kind of mesh that in there with it too. So if we have like 2 videos, one that's like maybe 3 minutes, one that's a minute to a minute and a half, those 2 videos, we put them out there. That's all you need. You don't really need anything. You don't even really need text on the video. You just need to compile it together, put some really cool music to it, and you're done. So
Yep, it sounds like a great plan. I will definitely be tugging on Haste's arm about calling on you when the time is right. Then.
yeah, I'd be more than willing to do it. Just gotta let me know.
Awesome. Well, Racer, do you have anything else, Jeff?
No, my voice is just about done. So yeah,
I can
for
tell.
people that don't know, I had a hell of a cold last week, and I'm still kind of recovering from it. So yeah, that's it for me. I'm throwing in the towel.
Gotcha. Well, Nix, we're waiting for you. Okay, so maybe next episode, huh? Huh? We'll see. What do you got, Jeff?
Oh, no, nothing for me. I'm good.
Hey,
All right, cool.
would you stop being on fire because it's kind of smoking us out down here?
Yeah.
So same time next week, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
same time, man. Hey, I feel
Yeah.
like some of the stuff we talked about today we can
Yeah.
make a whole other episode for. So
So
yeah,
so I'll be here same time next week then. Got it.
Yeah.
there we go.
Jeff
I'll
or
be waiting. I'll be
Leo's
waiting.
gonna
I'll
be
be the
the
new.
uninvited guest that's here every day.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the new host.
So
I like to.
he's
I'm
our
gonna
new
be
guy on the
jockeying for the.
couch.
And
Yeah, I'm
that's the
gonna be
funny thing.
jockeying for another host.
I
I
don't
want to be
think
another host.
Leo's actually left the booth since last time we were here.
He's the
I think
guy
he
on the
just
couch.
stayed.
Yeah, I live here now. Don't mind the trash. That's
This is
just
gonna hit you
my.
up for that brewski session. We're gonna
Oh,
bounce some
for real,
ideas
dude.
round and round.
For real, dude. We should make another podcast. Call it the I don't know, the Liberty Ale. There we go, Liberty Ale
Yeah.
podcast.
We started
Inspired by Liberty Ale.
with the of the opening the can. We just started with that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
There you go.
yep. I'll be down for that.
Fuck yeah, let's do it.
Sounds great. Well,
And
if there's nothing
Jeff,
else, I think this is probably going to wrap up our 4th episode of the podcast. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you next time.
holla.
Peace.